Ladies and gentlemen, we have a 4:55 work session today that I'm going to go ahead and call to order. Madam Clerk, would you read the roll, please?
Yes, Ms. Cole.
Here.
Mr. Getty.
Here.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Greenwood.
Here.
Mr. Schmidt.
Here.
Mr. Welper.
Here.
Mr. Hart.
Here. Motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have Michelle Wiedner and folks here to submit our financial statement, year-ending financial statement. Michelle, please.
I was just going to start off quickly, and I wanted to take the opportunity to thank McGladrey. They are our audit firm and did, I think, a very nice job at getting things done quickly and smoothly this year, which my staff and I really appreciate. As well as I appreciate all the departments, because I'm constantly calling them asking for things, and I think things went pretty well this year. So I want to thank all them, and I certainly want to thank my staff, Joyce Schrader, Ruth Haley, Emily Graham, and Brent Bolin, who we all work really hard in the fall to get all the audit pieces put together. And other than that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Kevin Smith, who's the partner that is in charge of our audit.
Good evening.
Good evening, Kevin.
There are a few different documents that I'm going to be making reference to during the presentation, and one is the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, or the CAFR, which is about 130 pages, and also this report to the Mayor and City Council. I've tried to kind of narrow all of the information down in this CAFR and just provide a brief presentation to you. So the information in this presentation is very high level, but certainly if you've got questions or want more detailed information, I'd be happy to answer whatever questions you have. So this is the presentation I'm going to walk through now. And really it's just summarizing the results of the audit, and then there's a few slides with some financial information showing the results from as of June 30th, 2013. The first slide there, the auditor communication with city officials. That first bullet mentions an unmodified or a clean opinion on the financial statements. Management is responsible for preparing all of the financial information in this document. This is information that is derived from their financial records. They put all of that together, and our job is to audit that information and to provide an opinion. And so the opinion that you see within the CAFR is an unmodified or a clean opinion. That is the highest level of an opinion that we can give on the financial statements. The second bullet there talks about new accounting pronouncements. There were a few new accounting pronouncements this year that impacted the city's financial statements, GASB 63 and 65. Neither of these had a real significant impact on the financial statements. One thing that you'll see throughout the document, in previous years there was a term called net assets, and that was the equity of your government-wide financial statements and also your enterprise funds. That's now referred to as net position. So when you see net position in that report, that's what that refers to. And also GASB 65 reclassified some things on your balance sheet to be shown as deferred inflows and deferred outflows. And it also took bond issuance costs in the past, whenever you incur costs to issue debt, at your government-wide level, so at your full accrual level, those are reported as an asset and then amortized over the life of the debt. GASB 65 said those are now just a current expenditure, so those flow through the current year as they're incurred. So there was about $280,000 of bond issue costs last year for your governmental activities, and about $140,000 in your enterprise funds that were written off, and you no longer see those as an asset on your balance sheet. That's the most significant impact of those two standards. But again, nothing real earth-shattering with the implementation of those. The rest of the bullets here talk about the results of the audit a little bit, talk about audit adjustments. There were no audit adjustments that we had to propose as a part of the audit process. Michelle and her staff did a great job of preparing the information for us, so we didn't have to come in here and propose entries to correct any of the information. No disagreements with management, no significant difficulties performing the audit, received full cooperation from everyone within the finance department. There's a pending GASB pronouncement that you'll see within the footnotes of the financial statements, and I just want to point this one out because it will have a significant impact on your financials in 2015, and it's the new GASB standards with respects to employer reporting of pensions for defined benefit pension plans. So the city participates in IPERS and also the fire and police statewide pension plans. Right now, when you look at your footnotes, you see very limited information that's disclosed about those pension plans. There's a few paragraphs that talk about what contributions the city made and some other information about those plans. Nothing is reported within your financial statements about those plans except for the contributions that you make to the plans. GASB 68 now, even with your statewide cost-sharing plans, what GASB 68 is requiring is that each employer, so each city, each school district, each county that participates within a cost-sharing plan like this will be picking up a piece of the state's unfunded pension liability and reporting that within your financial statements. So that unfunded pension liability at the state level, that is, you've got your assets that are sitting there to pay benefits, and then the actuary calculates the liability of what it would take really to pay those benefits out over time. And the difference between those two is that unfunded liability. So IPERS is around 80% funded. So it's not significantly underfunded like a lot of states, but it still is it's a large number. I think it was about $5 billion as of the end of their last audit report. And so that liability gets allocated to all of the participating entities throughout the state, and that liability will be reported in your financials beginning in 2015. The good news is it will mainly just impact your government-wide financial statements up front and not the individual funds. The only funds that it would impact would be your enterprise funds because those are on the full accrual basis of accounting. So you won't have a liability in your general fund or any of your other governmental funds. It would just be at that government-wide full accrual financial statements that you see in the report. The other item that you see in the back of this letter is the PFC, the opinion that we give over the PFC program. We do look at compliance within the FAA's requirements, and that it was a clean opinion as well. There were no findings with respects to the PFC program for the city. So the next few slides summarize at a very high level the financial results of the city for the past few fiscal years. Slide 3 shows all of the city's governmental funds, the revenue for all the governmental funds. So you'll see from the chart that the city relies significantly on property tax revenue and also the intergovernmental revenue. There's about a 5% increase in total revenue, or about $4.6 million over 2012. The biggest increase being within the property taxes and also that intergovernmental line, which is going to be a lot of the federal grants that the city receives. And then the flip side on slide 4 would be the expenditures by function for all of the city's governmental funds. And there was a decrease in expenditures of about $4 million, which is about 4% of over 2012. The biggest, the largest functions of the city being public safety and public works, where you do see increases, but there are decreases in several of the other categories which cause that overall decrease. The main one being capital outlay, which is the capital projects that the city has going on. There were more capital outlay expenditures in 2012 compared to 2013 due to the timing of various projects that the city had going on. The general government expenditure line there, you will see a decrease within that function. And then the next few slides focus just on the city's general fund, since that is probably the most important fund to the reader, probably the fund that you spend a lot of your time with. Slide 5 shows the the fund balance of the general fund kind of by category. I know I've discussed with you in the past the different categories of the fund balance, and you see non-spendable, restricted, assigned, and unassigned here in this pie chart, and shows the percentages that are of the total fund balance that make up each category. So the general fund total fund balance was just over $20 million, and the assigned and unassigned is $14.2 million. So, and the reason you look at the assigned and unassigned kind of separate from restricted is because the unassigned and assigned are categories that management and you all have some sort of control over. You can change fund balance assignments. You can do what you want with that unassigned balance. But the portion that's restricted, so that 27%, are going to be restrictions from outside parties, so through debt agreements or state statute. That portion of the fund balance has to be spent on specific items. Page 63 of the CAFR there's a chart that shows what makes up those different categories of restrictions and assignments. And then slide 6, again, just focusing on the general fund, shows the revenues and the expenditures and the fund balance for the past 5 years for the general fund. Revenues remained pretty flat over compared to 2012, and again, just around $46 million of general fund revenues. And again, expenditures did remain pretty flat as well at about $44 million. So because of the difference between the revenues and the expenditures, there was an increase in fund balance over last year. So that very last group of items on the right, you can see that fund balance went from about $18.2 million to $20 million as of the end of the city's fiscal year. So there was an increase in the city's general fund balance. Then the next slide shows the general fund, the unrestricted portion of your general fund balance in days. And what this is looking at your fund balance divided by the amount of expenditures, your annual expenditures within your general fund. So if you no longer, if you ceased receiving revenue for the city, how many days could the city survive with its current expenditures with the fund balance that it has right now? The Government Finance Officers Association generally recommends between 90 to 120 days of fund balance. And I know Michelle's targeting about 25%. And this 116 days that's shown here is about 20%. That 116, even though it's a 4-day decrease over last year, it's still at the high end of that 90 to 120 recommended range. So no concerns with that slight decrease there. And then slide 8 shows the enterprise funds of the city, so your sewer and sanitation funds. Overall, there was a slight increase with operating revenues. Operating expenditures did decrease slightly. On the very far right, the red bar, it's good to see the total change in your net position or your equity has increased. It's positive for both years. So with an enterprise fund, you want to be able to have the charges for services support those functions, and so you can see from these results that your enterprise funds are doing that and operating without having to rely on other funds of the city. And then the last slide, slide 9. A component of our audit is looking at internal controls over financial reporting for the city, and also testing compliance over certain federal grant programs. So this slide just shows the results of that work. Under the internal control over financial reporting section, you'll see that there were no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses to report this year. The compliance section is, there's a section of the CAFR starting on 119 that shows these results. So that's where the compliance section starts, is page 119. But you will not see significant deficiencies or material weaknesses reported there. Things that have been reported as deficiencies in the past, there were a few significant deficiencies over some segregation of duties items. Those have been reported or have been corrected, so you won't see those reported again this year. There are a few immaterial instances of non-compliance that are reported in there. They're things that we look at as a part of some of the state compliance requirements. And so these are things that you have seen in the past. These aren't new items. On about page 130, 131, you'll kind of see the more detail about these three instances of noncompliance, and also management's response to those findings are in the report as well. And then the single audit is the audit over the federal grant programs. Each year, you rotate the programs that you look at each year based on the level of funding, what type of grant it is. And this year, there were 5 major programs that we tested in detail, and those are listed here on this slide. The Disaster Recovery Grant, the 2 CDBG grants, the JAG program, and also the Airport Improvement Program. So for each of those programs, an unmodified or a clean opinion was issued. So no instances of noncompliance, no significant deficiencies to report within those programs as well. And that concludes what I had prepared. I'd be happy to answer whatever questions you have.
Thank you, Kevin. Council, do we have questions? Mr. Schmidt?
Just had a real quick question. Your fund balance is up the last year, but the days of the fund balance in unrestricted are down. Is that because our expenses are up, or why would one be up and the other be down?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I think what's causing that is the percentage of your fund balance that's restricted. I don't have what last year's percentage was, but my guess would be that was a little bit, that percentage was a little bit less last year, because that calculation is just looking at the unassigned and the assigned. So if that restricted fund balance portion is a little bit higher this year, it would cause that calculation to drop slightly. It could also be caused by fluctuations with the expenditures, but you saw that the expenditures were relatively flat. So it's probably that restriction on the fund balance.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Kevin, quickly, the reporting next year, required reporting from GASB of the unfunded liability on the pension, will that have any effect, in your opinion, on our bond rating?
This has been a very, this is a much debated standard, and there's not a lot of people that are big fans of the standard, and it is 2015, so you do have 2 years. What Moody's has said is that they really expect about less than 10% of governmental entities to have a negative impact on their bond ratings. These are things that these long-term liabilities, even they've never been reported in your financials before, but they've communicated that they've always taken a look at these things. They have their formulas, they have their things that they look at that may not necessarily be disclosed here, but they've taken those into consideration in the past. And so what they've communicated so far is that they don't expect there to be a significant impact on most entities. They understand what that liability represents. There's a lot of argument about whether that was really a liability of the city, because it doesn't change the way your plan's funded. I mean, you just make your required contributions, and you don't have any control over that unfunded liability.
Thank you. We don't. You're right.
Right.
Council, further questions? Take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Very good. We're adjourned. Kevin, thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to all of you. We have a great crowd tonight. Looks like we might be having a party or something. I'm not sure of what's later, but this is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Waterloo City Council this December 16th, this Monday. So, Madam Clerk, would you start us by reading the roll, please?
Yes, Ms. Cole.
Here.
Mr. Getty.
Here.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Greenwood.
Here.
Mr. Schmidt.
Here.
Mr. Welper.
Here.
Mr. Hart.
Here.
If you would all join me, please, in standing for just a moment of silent reflection or prayer. If you have a cap on, if you take it off, that would be great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Our Pledge of Allegiance tonight is going to be led by Mr. Kent Schenkel, our Director of Cultural and Arts Commission. Kent, where are you? There you are. Go ahead.
Please join me in reciting our pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. We're going to get right into the agenda tonight. Please,
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Hart.
I'd like to make a motion to approve an amended agenda. And those amendments are 1B12, adding of Class C, and number 9 on the council agenda to add the word awarding, so it will read resolution awarding and approving contract. Number 31, we will scratch out the words per month, and that'll be $79,800 plus expenses for 6 months. And then in number 35, instead of the word slitter, I think that will end up being log splitter. With the approval of the amendments, I also move that we approve the minutes of December 9th regular session.
Second.
Council, do you have discussion regarding the agenda or the minutes either? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Ware, I would like to make a motion to receive, place on file, and approve the consent agenda, items 1A through B11, also B12. Also with the approval of the consent agenda, I move that we pay our bills, which will be read by our finance chair.
And the bills this week are $2,875,419.35, 2,875,419.35.
Second.
Council, do you have any comments or questions regarding the consent agenda? Madam Clerk, it's a roll call vote, please.
Ms. Cole.
Yes.
Mr. Getty.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood.
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt.
I need to abstain on a payment of $860.30 to Schmidt Telecom Partners, so I need to abstain on that. I also would like to vote no on item number 1B8. Vote yes on everything else.
1B8.
1B8.
Mr. Welper.
Yes.
Mr. Hart.
Yes.
Very good, the motion carries. Before we move on, I think we have, is Cheryl Banks Ferguson? Cheryl, are you here? Javiva? Are you here? If you would stand, please. And Robert Bembridge. Bob, are you here? Very good. And Tom Wickersham. Tom, very good. These are all folks that have been appointed to our Cultural and Arts Commission. You guys, thank you all, and girls, thank you very much for your stepping forward and for your volunteering of your time. Serving on these boards and commissions are very important, and it's exciting to know that you guys are willing to give of your time of this important commission. So thank you very much for stepping forward. Welcome to Waterloo. Thank you. And we have Brian Bozen. Is Brian with us tonight? Brian is not with us, but Brian has been appointed to our new Animal Control Services as a full-time officer. So welcome aboard again, Brian. Brian used to work for the city a long time ago, and he's back. Very good. Mr. Hart?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to receive and file proof of publication, notice of public hearing for the issuance of general bond urban renewal bonds not to exceed $3,500,000 for essential purposes, corporate purposes of said city, the proceeds of which bonds will be used to provide funds to pay costs of aiding in the planning, undertaking, and carrying out of urban renewal projects under the authority of Chapter 403 in the Downtown Urban Renewal and Redevelopment Plan as amended, including funding a grant pursuant to the amended and restated development agreement between the city and Cedar Valley Tech Works, Inc. and FDP WTC LLC.
Second.
Very good. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries and the hearing is now open. Madam Clerk, were there any written objections on file to us selling bonds?
There were none.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak either for or against item number 2 tonight, the selling of some corporate purpose bonds? Second time?
Mr. Mayor, I move to close the hearing.
Second.
Council, do you have questions, comments, or concerns? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution to institute proceedings to take additional action of issuance of said bonds.
Second.
It's a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Motion carries. You know, I can't, I don't think I can go forward with the next motion without, I look out across the crowd tonight, and we have most of city administration and department heads here for about the last 20 years. So if you guys see anything up here that you'd like to, correct or add comments to or do differently, you know, just step to the microphone and let us know it. Welcome to all of you. Item number 3, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Greenwood.
I make that motion, receive, file proof of a publication, notice of public hearing. That's for the request of Proactive Holdings for LLC for the vacation sale and conveyance of .72 acres of East Ridgeway Avenue right-of-way adjacent to 2002 through 2018 East Ridgeway Avenue at the cost of $1.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and the hearing is now open. Madam Clerk, are there any written objections on file?
There were none.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak either for or against item number 3, Proactive Holdings to vacate some land to them? A second time?
I'll make that motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Council, do you have questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution authorizing said sale and conveyance, authorize the city attorney to prepare and deliver the deed accordingly.
Second.
Madam Clerk, that's a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Very good, the motion's carried. Let's get into resolutions, please. Take them 3 at a time. We have several tonight, please.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schmidt.
Item number 4, I'd like to adopt a resolution approving a request by Proactive Holdings 4 LLC for the final plat of Crossroads Retail Center addition generally located near the intersection of East Ridgeway Avenue and East San Martin Drive for an 8-lot commercial subdivision. Item number 5 is adopting a resolution approving renaming the north-south portion of public East Ridgeway Avenue between East Ridgeway Avenue at the north and East San Martin Drive at the south end as Sovia Drive. And item number 6 is adopting a resolution approving amendment to the 2008 Traffic Code, Resolution 2004-746, Section 310, prohibited parking during snow removal, Priority 1 streets by adding the following: San Martin access, Kimball Avenue to Penny's Drive, West Shawless Road, Kimball Avenue to Sargent Road, and East Shawless Road, Washington Street to Kimball Avenue.
Second.
Council, do you have questions or comments regarding 4, 5, or 6? Madam Clerk, please, there are roll call votes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Motion's carried, please. 7, 8, 9.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Gaddy.
item 7 is a resolution approving the easement agreement between the city of Waterloo and Hydrite Chemical Company of Waterloo, Iowa, for the specific use of a railroad spur and crossing for parcel number 8913-176-007, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute that said document. Item 8 is a resolution approving professional service agreement with Wayne Clausen Engineering and Surveying, Inc. of Waterloo, Iowa, for construction-related services for the FY 2014 Orange School Sanitary Sewer Extension, contract number 816, in the amount of $40,000, and authorize mayor to execute the said document. And number 9 has been amended to resolution awarding and approving the contract bonds and certificate of insurance for Reckless Excavating Limited, of Anamosa, Iowa, for construction-related services for the FY 2014 Coyne School Sanitary Sewer Extension Contract 816 in the amount of $273,405, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute said document. I move these items be approved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Getty and Mr. Hart. Council, do you have questions or comments regarding any of those three? Madam Clerk, please, it's a roll call vote.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Very good, the motion's carried. Next three, please, 10, 11,
Mayor.
12. Ms. Cole?
I move we approve change order number 1 for a net decrease of $12,113.66 for work performed by B&B Builders and Supply Corporation of Waterloo for the FY 2014 Sidewalk Repair Assessment Program, Zone 3, contract number 852, and authorize mayor and city clerk to execute said document. I move we adopt a resolution improving completion of project and recommendation of acceptance of work performed by B&B Builders and Supply of Waterloo at a total cost of $114,974.89 in conjunction with the FY 2012 Sidewalk Repair Assessment Program, Zone 3, contract number 852. And 12 is a resolution approving documents and adopt and levy the final schedule of assessments in conjunction with the FY 2014 Sidewalk Repair Assessment Program, Zone 3, contract number 852.
Second.
Council, do you have any questions or comments regarding 10, 11, or 12? Madam Clerk, it's a roll call vote.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hurt?
Yes.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Very good, the motion carries. Council, let's do 13 by itself, please. I understand there were some comments at the agenda meeting Thursday. In case there are, we can discuss that. If not, that'll be fine, but let's do number 13 by itself.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Welper.
number 13 is a resolution approving recommendation of award of bid to Stivers Ford of Waukee, Iowa, in the amount of $156,486 for the purchase of 6 2013 police interceptor vehicles.
Second.
Very good, there's a motion and second. Council, do you have comments or concerns or questions regarding this item?
Mr. Mayor? Oh, go ahead, Harold.
The only question that I had, Mr. Mayor, was that bid wasn't that far above the local bidder. And do you remember the exact figure? I don't remember.
It was just a few $100s.
Yes. And that's why I questioned whether we should, in my opinion, we should go with the local bidder.
With the local bidder or the low bidder, Mr. Getty?
The local.
Okay, very good.
Mr. Mayor?
Ms. Cole?
The local bidder has access to the state bid. They can look online and see what the bid is. And last year, I believe that the company in question did get this bid. They underbid, and they got it. I think that if we go to the local preference issue, and I can think of one exception that we've made in the time I've been here, we destroy the integrity of the bid process. So I would certainly support going with the lowest responsible bid.
Thank you, Ms. Cole. Mr. Welper?
I'm really not concerned about the vote this evening. I'm sure when you think about our taxpayers, you're going to go with the low bid. A couple, 2-3 years ago, I made the trip to Hudson to speak to Mr. Caldwell in regards to our bidding policy, encouraging him to bid. Carolyn's right. The state bid is a public bid that anyone can look at. And as I understand, our local Ford dealer, Mr. Witham, has chosen not to bid when there's a state bid involved. So actually, Mr. Caldwell could get all the bids simply by looking up what the state bid is and at least matching it. So this discussion would not be taking place if he would do that. So.
Thank you, Mr. Welper. Further? Council? Let's take a bid on the motion as it was made to
take a vote.
Yeah, what'd I say? Take a bid. We can take a bid. It'd be local. Let's take a vote on the motion as it was made, which is to accept the low bid from Stivers Ford. Madam Clerk, please.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Very good. The motion carries as it was made. Next three, please, 14, 15, and 16.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Greenwood.
14, move to adopt the resolution approving recommendation of award of contract to Benton Sand and Gravel of Cedar Falls, Iowa, in the amount of $57,650 for the demolition services of 217, 219 Jefferson, and 300 West 3rd Street. Authorize the mayor, city clerk to execute said document. And 15 is a resolution approving site access agreement with MSA LP, doing business as Verizon Wireless for access to the Burns Park site for a new cell tower for environmental, geotechnical, radio testing, and authorize mayor and city clerk to execute that document. And 16 is a resolution setting a date of hearing as January 13th, 2014, to approve a request of Caston Associates on behalf of Black Hawk Contracting Development of Waterloo, Iowa, for a site plan amendment to the R1 RP Planned 1 and 2 Family Residence District to allow for the construction of 14 new single-family homes located at the former Lafayette School site. Instruct the city clerk to publish the notice.
Second.
Council, do you have questions or comments regarding 14, 15, or 16?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Welper.
Thursday morning, I thank the council for honoring my request to look into this. Thank you for that.
You're talking about item 16. I'm
Item
assuming.
16, yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Also need to thank Noel for the amount of work that he put in to try to get some interest in this, and also to John Ruff, who agreed to back off, so to speak, for 60 days for us to look into this. 60 days is probably not enough. You know, it takes years to put something like this together. We probably waited too long. You know, I'm looking at the fact that here we have 6,000 people who live in a very underserved area. The land out there is flat. It would require very little grading. All the utilities are there. It's close to downtown. We as a city had very little money in this property at all. I think this would have been an ideal chance for us to put a package together that would have attracted a developer to do something with our property. You know, maybe it was more than just having Noel do this. Maybe the mayor's office needed to be involved as well. I mean, we still have time, but, you know, time is running out here. So, again, I want to thank everyone for at least letting me dream a little bit that perhaps I could have helped some people in this area. And, you know, I said in the agenda meeting that I have a feeling that someday this is going to happen. It may not happen so I can say I told you so. I may be long gone by that time. But I again want to thank everyone for giving me that opportunity.
Ron, thank you. Those are heartfelt comments and much appreciated. Thank you. Mr. Hart?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to also say first, probably about the last 5-6 years, and Noel can probably tell you, been very adamant about having Lafayette School torn down. Yeah. So we've had a lot of friendly conversations about trying to make that happen. And so we're at a point now in which that's going to become a reality. But I do want to say for the record, and because that's the area that I do represent, that we have taken potential developers over to look at this site, so this site can potentially become a commercial area. That did not happen after several attempts of bringing people from out of town to even come and take a look at that area, so I wanted to make sure we make that publicly. I also want to say, too, that this area, if you take a look at the housing in the general area, has probably not seen any new development in a very long time, so we weren't able to accomplish the idea for commercial development. But as far as having new houses in this area, 50s, 60s, since there has been something built in that general area, so it's long overdue. It's a good opportunity for the city to partner with Blackhawk and the rest of the companies to make something happen in this area. But we have been taking a look at commercial longer than just this last 60 days or so when we asked the current contractor to take a look at it. I also want to compliment Mr. Ruff and Associates for taking an interest in building, because from that interest they've taken, there's others that are potentially becoming more interested in building in areas that have been underserved for the past several years. The question I do have for Noel, and I think it was in our packet of information, the time frame on which these developments will take place, because people are interested in knowing that time frame. Is that September 30th of 2015 when it has to be completed? Okay.
Go ahead, Noel, please.
Noel Anderson, Community Planning Development Director. That's completely correct, and of course, we're still waiting for them to tear down the building. They should have that done in the next couple of months here under the contract we have signed with them, so we're very excited to get this started. And I see Mr. Ruff is in the audience today, and he's excited to get started with this as well. We did make a very good effort to try and get some more commercial interest in it, and just were unable to do so.
Thanks, Noel. Further comments? Mr. Greenwood.
That's the reason that there's a public hearing set for it. I mean, I haven't had any comments from any of the residents there. Do we need to put a sign up there that this, land is available for development? But, as far as having a public hearing, if residents in that area want to voice their opinion about what type of development, here's the opportunity to do it.
Thanks, Bob. Yeah, and it's important to recognize that we are just setting a date of hearing tonight. This is not passing. Further? Madam Clerk, please.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Very good. The motion's carried. Number 17, 18, and 19, please.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schmidt.
Item number 17 is adopting a resolution setting date of hearing as January 13th, 2014, to approve a development agreement with Blackhawk Contracting and Development to authorize the sale and conveyance of a portion of city-owned property for $1 along Lafayette Street near its intersection with East 3rd Street for the construction of 6 townhouse dwellings, and instruct the city clerk to publish notice. Item 18 is adopting a resolution setting date of hearing as January 6, 2014 for the sale of city-owned property located at 927 Lafayette Street to Tiana Smart with a purchase price of $122,000, and instruct the city clerk to publish notice. And item 19 is adopting a resolution setting date of hearing as January 13, 2014, amending ordinance for the City Limits Urban Revitalization Area, or CLURA, to extend for an additional 3 years, and instruct the city clerk to publish notice.
Second.
Council, you have questions or comments regarding 17, 18, or 19? Mr. Schmidt.
On item number 17, and I think I dropped Noel an email on this, but I'm just wondering, I've gotten some calls about that property from folks either affiliated with Queen of Peace Church or the Elks or the YWCA regarding that parking lot and how much that parking lot is used at various times during the year, not consistently, but at various times. And I know we've talked in the past about facilities-wise, that property does not have the facilities coming to it that some other properties typically would have in downtown, because that has never had housing on it. Is that accurate?
Noel Anderson, Community Planning and Development Director. That lot used to have meters on it, and they were very seldomly plugged. I believe it was enforced, so there was no one parking there. Maybe on the weekends and for church activities, seldomly it might have been used for those specific activities. We met with church representatives back when Mr. Hurley was mayor to go over their interest in buying that. Since they didn't pay taxes, they would not have qualified for the sale of property decrease in that. And obviously, they did not move forward with those actions. We've evaluated the site. It's a little bit off the beaten path from a lot of the main downtown traffic that has parking lots. There's obviously parking lots to the north side of the church near the Elks as well. So we feel that there's a good amount of parking in that area, which makes us a good site for redevelopment. There's not a lot of sewer stubs along that section, so that'll be something that's contained within the development agreement that would be proposed for Mr. Ruff to go ahead and add those sewer stubs in for housing development as proposed.
And we looked at the land there at East Second and Lafayette. I know there's a couple, 2 or 3 vacant lots there. that
There
I
is some
assume would
private
have
land
facilities coming
owned there
to
by
them.
one person. I think it's about a little close to a half of a block, and we have made Mr. Ruff aware of that as well for potential redevelopment. It was proposed for a church building at one point that never materialized.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Further questions? Good questions, Mr. Schmidt. Madam Clerk, it's a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt? Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Very good, the motion is carried. Next three, 20, 21, and 22, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Welper?
number 20 is a resolution approving professional service agreement with JDE Engineering of Waterloo, Iowa for the design and gravity sanitary sewer main extension for the expansion of the Northeast Industrial Park, not to exceed $33,950, and authorize mayor to execute said document. 21 is a resolution approving professional service agreement with JDE Engineering of Waterloo, Iowa for the preliminary and final plating of the land of the expansion of the Northeast Industrial Park, not to exceed $31,950, and authorize mayor to execute said document. 22 is a resolution approving the submission of 2 applications for the RISE funding and approve the memorandum of understanding with the Iowa Regional Governments, Council of Governments, in the amount not to exceed $2,000 for the writing, preparation, and the submittal of the local development for the Northeast Industrial Park roadway and the Geraldine Road extension, and authorize mayor and city clerk to execute said document.
Second.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Welper, council, do you have any questions regarding 20, 21, or 22? Madam Clerk, please.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes?
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Very good, the motion's carried. Next three,
Mr.
23,
Getty.
4, and 5,
Okay.
please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Forgetting about him already, for
Mr.
crying
Mayor.
out loud. Ms. Cole?
23 is a resolution approving a third amendment to the original development agreement with Crystal Distribution Services, Inc., date February 2006, to make changes for the new project going forward and authorize mayor and city clerk to execute said document. 24 is a resolution approving the request from fire chief to increase billable ambulance mutual aid fees from current level of $150 per call for service to $300 per call, effective February 1st, 2014. And 25 is a motion approving the City of Waterloo Comprehensive Annual Financial Report for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2013.
Second.
Very good, thank you, Ms. Cole. Council, do you have any questions regarding 23, 24, or 25? Mr. Schmidt?
Could I ask, item number 24, do we have kind of an estimate on what effect that will have on the fire department's budget?
Chief Treeler?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your question, Steve.
I was wondering, item number 24, if you have a guesstimate on how that'll affect your budget?
Well, we run on average about 50 mutual aid calls a year. So it'd be 50 times a $150 increase. So half a year left, it'd be 25 times $150.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. Further questions? Madam Clerk, please.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes?
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Very good, the motion's carried. Next three, please. 6, 7, and 8. 26, 7, and 8.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Hart?
move that we adopt a resolution approving closing agreement for 2009 ABABS bonds and authorize mayor and city clerk to execute said document. 27, move to adopt a resolution approving supplemental agreement number 3 with Amen Inc. of Waterloo, Iowa, in the amount of $19,000 in conjunction with additional plan development services for the FY 2014 Kimball Avenue Transportation Improvement Contract number 843, and authorize the mayor to execute said document. In 28, I move to adopt a resolution approving agreement with Fairway Stores of Waterloo, Iowa for compensation in the amount of $10,000 in conjunction with the additional consultant work for the FY 2014 Kimball Avenue Transportation Improvements, contract number 843, and authorize mayor to execute said document.
Second.
Questions or comments, council? Madam Clerk, please.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Next three, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Cole.
I move that we approve change order number 5 for a net increase of $186,752.70 for work performed by Aspro of Waterloo, Iowa for the FY13 Asphalt Overlay Program, contract number 833, and authorize mayor and city clerk to execute said document. 30, I move we adopt a resolution approving completion of project and recommendation of acceptance of work performed by Aspro Inc. of Waterloo at a total cost of $2,671,948.73 in conjunction with the FY 2013 Asphalt Overlay Program, contract number 833. And 31 is a resolution approving extension of the airport management agreement with Trillion Aviation for management consulting in an amount not to exceed $79,800 plus expenses for 6 months ending June 30th, 2014, and authorize the mayor to execute said document.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Cole. Council, do you have questions or comments regarding 29, 30, or 31? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Very good, the motion's carried. 32, 33, and 34. Next three, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Welper.
32 is a resolution approving the construction permit application with the Iowa Department of Natural Resources for the wastewater disposal system construction in conjunction with the CIP lining for service area 15 and 16. 33 is a resolution approving the amendment to the non-bargaining fringe benefits and policies. 34 is a resolution approving the releasing of the city's revision rights on the property located at 936 Newton Street.
Second.
Very good. Council, do you have questions or comments on those three, 32, 33, or 34? Madam Clerk, please.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Very good, the motion's carried. The last item, Council, item number 35, please. Mr. Getty, why don't you take that?
Item which number, Mayor?
35.
Let me turn my page over.
Second. Harold.
Item 35, purchase of a Timberwolf. Amended, excuse me, the Timberwolf TW10 log splitter. Motion to instruct golf and downtown area maintenance manager to prepare specifications and bid documents.
Second.
Council, do you have any questions regarding this item? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to receive and file specifications and bid document.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution preliminarily approving specifications and bid document.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Resolution setting the date of hearing and bid opening is of January 13th, 2014. Excuse me, I won't be here, but you guys get to vote. And instruct the city clerk to publish notice of specifications, bid documents, and taking of bids.
Second.
Harold, you want to tell us where you are going to be?
Well, it'll be a little warmer than Waterloo, Iowa.
It's a roll call vote, Madam Clerk, please.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Very good. Motion passes, and ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of our regularly scheduled business tonight. Normally, we take oral comments, oral presentations for the mayor or council on items that we haven't talked about here tonight, but, you know, tonight, I've got a little program. If anybody has a burning desire to come up, I'm going to give everybody an opportunity in a few minutes to have comments, if you'd like, directed at Mr. Getty or Mr. Greenwood. But right now, if you would indulge me in just letting me kind of get started with our little program, that would be great. If anybody has comments, though, now's the time to jump up real quick. Very good. I'm going to come forward, and maybe I could get Councilman Greenwood and Councilman Getty to both kind of step up with me to the front of the council here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's, this is a kind of a difficult moment, actually, Harold, dadgummit. I've known both of these guys for a long time. Bob and I came on together 14 years ago. No, 12 years ago. 12 years ago. 12 years ago. 12 years ago. And when we came on with Ron and Mayor Hurley out there. The four of us came on together. We were known as the new council for a long time. That's all we were. In fact, for the first 2 years, we were the new council. And gosh, look at us now. Who'd have thunk it, you know? But what an honor it's been to serve with Harold. Harold is an icon, an institution. I don't know all the things. I can think of some other words, but I won't say it right now, Harold. So what I'd like to do tonight is make probably a pretty feeble attempt, quite honestly, to recognize and honor both of these folks. And as I said, I'll give you guys all the opportunity to do so also here in just a few minutes. But I came across a little part of a speech that was given by Teddy Roosevelt in 1910. I think is an absolute perfect synopsis of what these two gentlemen and all of these folks that set up here every Monday night and make decisions for the citizens of the city. I think this is a good synopsis of that. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, the man who strives valiantly, the man who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is not effort without error and shortcoming, but the man who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms and great devotions, the man who spends himself in a worthy cause, the man who at the best knows in the end the triumphs of his achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Ladies and gentlemen, these gentlemen have stepped up and have done that, and they will never know the cold feeling of victory or defeat. So I'm going to give just a couple of little plaques away here, and again try feebly, I think, to thank these gentlemen for what they've done for all of you and for our city for, quite honestly, a very long time. And first to you, Bob, in recognition presented to Bob Greenwood for 12 years of dedicated service to the citizens of Waterloo, Iowa, from January 1st, 2002 to December 31st, 2013, Waterloo City Councilman at Large. Bob, congratulations. You bet. And I got to give you the microphone.
Mayor Clark and fellow council people here, citizens of Waterloo, it's been an honor and a privilege to serve you over the last 12 years. I'd like to thank my family, my wife Sherry, my sons and daughters, and my staff at the pharmacy for sharing me, allowing me to be part of the serving the city of Waterloo and its citizens. To the department heads that made my job easier here, I thank you. You're a great team. We have got a lot accomplished in the last 12 years. You know, starting with the turn signal here, or the River Renaissance project, some of the development we had on the north side, all around town. One thing that was frustrating to me as I started is that government moves so slow. I mean, I can make a policy change in my business today and we can have her rolling tomorrow. And it was always frustrating that government, how many resolutions does it take to build an outhouse? Anyway, it's just been a really honor. It's been a great learning experience.
Jameson is writing that one down, by the way.
To represent the city of Waterloo, and I think we have accomplished some great things. And I'm here to help. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to help going forward.
Bob, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, again, now's where the feebleness, I think, comes in. Gosh, when you're trying to honor a fellow like Harold Getty, not just with all of the accomplishments that he's made in the city. He's been here 30 years. I was trying to relate to 30 years, and we honor our employees for putting in 30 years. I don't know I know we haven't ever had a councilman serve 30 years, but I was thinking of Mr. Welper, who just got elected to his 4th term. You got to serve this term and get elected 4 more times before you can match that.
I'm not even going to try.
So, it's not just the point that Harold has served all of us for so long, for so well. He's just a great person. For all of us that know Harold and consider him a friend, what an honor. So I was trying to think, first of all, what I could say, and I'm doing what I usually do is kind of just ramble and stumble along, Harold. I didn't prepare anything because I couldn't quite honestly think of anything to put on paper. But I did come up with an idea that I think fairly will honor Harold tonight and in the future. So Harold, from now on, the City Council chambers in Waterloo are going to be the Harold E. Getty Council Chambers. Let me read you what we got on the plaque here. This says the Harold E. Getty Council Chambers. These city council chambers are named in honor of Waterloo City Councilman Harold Getty for 30 years of dedicated and loyal service to the citizens of Waterloo. For 30 years, Councilman Getty served tirelessly as either councilman at large or third ward councilman, always representing every citizen of Waterloo fairly and impartially. The positive contribution Councilman Getty has made to the city of Waterloo is immeasurable and should never be forgotten. Dedicated this 16th day of December 2013, and it bears my signature. So Harold, this is yours. Yeah, the suggestion was we could all go down and ice fish tonight on Getty Lake, but I'm not sure if we're going to.
That's not really true, Mayor. I was going to suggest skinny dipping. But the weather turned cold, and we didn't want nobody to catch cold. I don't know what to say. I look out and I see 2 former mayors sitting back there.
Yep.
I see former council people sitting back there. My good friend Bob Farr sitting back there I've known for years, and hear if I do something wrong and say thank you if I do something right, and the thank yous don't come quite often enough, Bob. And my good friend and former clerk up here, Nancy Eckhart and Emery, I really appreciate you being there. Deb, Barry, she's sitting back there on the side. So many faces, and I know I'm not going to be able to mention them all. My friend Scott sitting over here. Police chief sitting back there in the back, my daughter, and my granddaughter. And I wouldn't forget you, Taylor. But thank you. And my wife. Oh, my. I thought I felt something kick me, yeah. Yeah, my wife served for 30 years, and the kids have too with me. So it's been a pleasure. It's been great to serve Waterloo. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed all you department heads for over the years, and thank you very much. What else can we
Mr.
say?
Getty, well, let's let some of your friends and coworkers say things.
Okay.
Well, I think there's a couple of them that have something to say. What I'm going to ask you to do is just go ahead and come the way through the door. I know there's a couple of folks that have something to say. Go ahead, come on up here. Let's come on up here. That's fine. Okay, don't. Okay.
I was just thinking, and this is probably selfish of me, but I'm so happy that I get more of my grandpa to myself now. On that note, thank you, Grandpa, for all that you did for your city, and I love you very much.
Very good. Very good. Oh, you got to take the trash out.
I'll swim on this.
Planning this for a year. There you go. Thanks. There you go, Scott.
Well, thank you, Mayor and Council. I had the privilege to work with Harold for many years, and what a super fella. But one thing that I was looking through some city ordinances, and we had a city ordinance back in the 1900 that was you can't name a lake after a person who couldn't swim, and there's a real not many people know this. Probably just Harold. Harold doesn't know how to swim, so we got a way to resolve this here. So it's a little life jacket for his extra time that he can take down to the lake. That's what he said for his extra time. And Harold's always the type of guy who wants to be a fashion guy, so I got some Speedos for him.
Can't go wrong.
All right. If anybody like to add anything to that, come on up.
The city attorney just asked me to try them on, but I'm not paying no attention to it.
That's against the city ordinance. I'm pretty sure he violated.
We could pass an ordinance real quick for that. Does anybody else have any comments you'd like to come up, either up here or up to the microphone, either one? We're all going to share, and absolutely every one of you are invited down to Jameson's after this. We're going to reminisce down there and have some food and drink and so forth. So anybody that's here is also welcome to come down there, and you're certainly welcome to share stories with Harold down there. But I'll give everybody another opportunity. Council?
Mr.
Is
Mayor.
anybody up here? Yes, Ms. Cole. Yeah. You know you got to speak in the microphone when you're up here, because nobody will hear you if you don't.
Stand up. Are you going to support the Black-bellied pigs now?
Harold has been an absolute gentleman to serve with. And I first met him it was 10 years ago, and it was at your church. It was a candidate forum. There were it seemed like 60 of us. All asked the same question, so the answers by the time they got to my end of the table were terrible. Harold came over, introduced himself, pulled a bag of candy out of his pocket, and said, "Have a piece, because if you win, this will be your dinner on Monday night." And the other thing you need to know is when you may be very unhappy with your colleague during the meeting, but afterwards you shake hands and you go have a drink or go have dinner or whatever. And he has just been an absolute gentleman and a gem to work with. And I'm going to miss you so much.
Okay, all right.
Thanks, Council, anybody else like to step up at all at this time?
Mr. Mayor.
Susie?
Susie, you can let Paul go first.
Okay, go ahead, Paul.
I want to thank Bob and Harold for building that outhouse, because it did take a lot of resolutions, and we did build an outhouse, and it's right on Getty Lake. Someone thought it was your summer cabin, but it isn't.
For what it costs, it might be.
All right, anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, once Susie goes, I'd like to say something.
Susie, yes.
Harold, I'm sure I speak on behalf of all of the department heads and all of the staff.
My wife's sitting out there, so shh.
Okay, I'll keep it together. All right. I know. That's why I keep Carol in between us. We thank you for your support. It's been an honor working with you for the last 4 years, and certainly couldn't have done it without you. Tom and Pat, you have huge shoes to fill. By the way, he supplies us with candy up here. He slips it under the table. That's what keeps us going through the meeting. So we're expecting your drawer to be full. Thank you. It's been an honor and a pleasure to work with you, and we're going to miss you.
Thank you.
Yeah, he knows exactly. I just want to say, when I took a look at, when I first started on council, I had the distinct pleasure of sitting on this side, which we used to consider this side the more thoughtful, creative, creative side of the chambers. But Harold kind of took me under his wing. There was nobody that can give me a pep talk or get me riled up about an issue like Harold could. And I think one of the things that I learned, you know, it's 2013. We have all this technology. We have all these different ways to communicate, cell phones, email. But it's one thing that Harold told me when I first started, other than some of the jokes, but his wife is in the audience, and my wife is looking right now. And that was just the personal touch that he had with people. He told me he may not be able to call people back right when they call him, but make sure that you have enough respect and you're sincere enough to give people a call back when they call you, because they actually need something that you may be able to provide them with. So if it's one thing that I've learned from Harold, Councilman Getty, it's just having that personal touch with people that have elected me to represent them. So I want to thank Harold for all the years of being a great role model about how a city council person is supposed to be, and I'm going to listen to him. I'm going to think about all those things, and I think Carol and I have the joke, not joke, but when he's gone, we call it WWHD. And that is, what would Harold do? So Harold, thank you, and also thank Councilman Bob for all the years of service. Thank you.
We're not quite adjourned yet, so we still have to do that. And by the way, Harold, next Monday, or the first Monday in the month, we couldn't keep this a surprise and get it on the agenda for tonight. So, and keeping with the rules, so we'll post it. And on the 4th, I think, is our first council meeting. In the 6th, there will be a resolution officially naming this chamber the Harold E. Getty Council Chambers. So we'll look forward to that and make it an official resolution. I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Whoop, I'm sorry,
You
what?
want to talk?
You want to say anything else?
I want to make the motion.
Okay, there you go.
First, I got these documents I want to read. They're about 6 pages thick.
You had your chance to do that.
I'm just kidding. Thank you, guys. Thank you, all of you, my colleagues, the departments, the staff, and the friends that showed up tonight. I appreciate it very much. Carol and I will still stay in Waterloo, be here. We'll go on a little vacation, but just thank you all, and God bless all of you. Thanks.
Make a motion to adjourn. Huh?
Make a motion? No, let's stay a while. Adjourn. Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you very much.